Do you have any questions about the assignment? So,
What's the topics for the essay?
it is on the end of our, if you open the syllabus, you can pick any topic you want, but it gives you like 12 you can pick from, like alcoholism or addictions or poverty is one that people choose. How do we log into this? Is it like that? Ah, jeez. Huh. And how do you add one? Interesting.
It's at the end of the syllabus?
Yeah, like the very dead end of the syllabus. And there's like some suggestions for topics. Oh, I remembered. I might have a cord that actually works for this computer. Let's see here. Is there anything that is interesting to you in social work?
I want to work with kids.
Okay. So maybe even like child poverty or foster care. Because you could do that as a topic if you wanted to. Let's see if this one works.
Yeah, I think I'll do my own child poverty foster care.
Yeah, that's a good
one. That somewhere?
What's that?
Do I have to put that somewhere on the discussion board?
Oh yeah, you can say like the day that you want to present. So, and this might be the main thing that we'll do for today. Say, if you want to present anytime this month or, well, we only have this month or next month actually. And then from there, you'll start trying to find some of your resources and access to, so foster care is a good one because there's a lot on foster to adopt, the reasons for fostering, agency work and foster care, things of that nature. So, is there a particular day you wanted to actually present?
I said 11.
Okay. So, yeah, so that would work. Hello. And then, yeah, as long as you put the date you want to do it in there, and then it's so for the first round is creating the PowerPoint, and if you want to also write that for your final paper, you guys can write the same topic. That way you're doing all the same research, like all the way through. And people seem to have liked that more than not. And I'll try to send you some stuff on foster care and adoption that I have from my very own stuff. Have you volunteered with any before?
No.
Okay. Okay, that's what I wanted. So maybe just like logging in again. Oh, it does remember me. Let's see here. All right, you guys can all say hi to everybody on the camera. Say hello. Shoot. I can't remember. All right, any other questions about the presentations? Any topic that you were interested in for presenting?
What? We just pick a random topic.
You can do either one. So you can present on any mental health disorder or like poverty or issue in social work. At the end of the syllabus, there's like 12 topics. So either one, let's see if we went into the syllabus. I don't know if it'll open here, if this will crash out the system, but I'll try. So, oh, okay, it opens it this way. But if you like go to page 10 or whatever it is at the very end, I know the Wi-Fi takes a minute. Now somebody, okay. Actually, yeah, like 10 through 14 should have some of the topics that we put in here. Is there any that interest you in general? Oh yeah, that's one. So here's one: gender bias in families and its clinical implications for women. You could do adjustment to occupational stress, the relationship of perceived control to effectiveness of coping strategies, which really could be like anxiety, work anxiety, like getting started in your social work career, which also is very normal for all of us to have too. You could also do character development in a hostile environment, basis for preventative and interventive help, ethnic sensitive social work practice. We have also aggressive behavior in child and elderly, early adolescence, and ecological developmental perspective of youth violence. We have psychological theory and women's development. So if you wanted to do like a women's theory or also this article, so you want to find peer-reviewed articles like these, and these are just some examples of some you could use. Coming out in mid-adulthood, building a new identity, and that one's the Journal of Gay and Lesbian Social Services, Issues in Practice, Policy and Research. There's also development theories of aging, gerontological theories of older adult development and developmental theories through the life cycle. So the last few here are ethnicity in the family life cycle, the likelihood of poverty across American adult lifespan. That's probably kind of more of my like specialty than anything. So something that interests you is cool. When you ever do research, the honest trick is to find something that you love and is interesting. Otherwise, you're going to hate school for the rest of your life. So these last two are biology's challenge to social work, embodying the in-person and environment perspective. And then violence and gender, reports from an urban high school. Oh, sorry, there's another page. But genetic determinism as a family paradigm in biology and medicine. Gender and moral reasoning, African-American youth respond to dating dilemmas. And then understanding human behavior in the social environment. That actually looks like a book, that last one there. So, but anxiety is a perfect topic. If you want to just do anxiety and cover all the details of it, and write your final paper on it too, then that would be perfect. If that works for you. Oh yeah, so this is where you would sign up and say, I want to do it here and then this date, and that's right, I wanted to go with this. So today my computer totally crashed on me. It's like my original Big Daddy 12-year-old computer that had everything on it. So right now I'm working off of my new computer, which has nothing. And luckily I put a lot of this up into Blackboard for us. Oh, I forgot this plays like an Android, doesn't it? Have you guys already watched this yet? It's okay if you have. The Science of Neglect. Poverty, okay. Maybe I can just look it up on the internet. Sometimes it's easier when you just do it on the internet instead of. Oh, interesting. I don't think that, I don't think I have that email. Maybe somebody created it for me. The mystery will endure. So I'm just going to go here and do type as good as I can on here, the science of neglect. And it's kind of getting into how we think that like little kids aren't paying attention, kind of building off of the still face experiment. And there's a lot of research in Harvard about it. So I want to go here because otherwise it might take me to YouTube again and then crash out. So you've got toxic stress derails healthy development. So this will be for the next discussion. Are you guys okay watching this one? Right? Have you seen it yet?
I haven't seen it.
Okay, just making sure. I don't want to double on anything for you guys.
Everyone in a community has a vested interest in everyone else's children, because everyone else's children determine the next adult population that makes for a successful society. Built into our biology is the need to have responsive interactions with adults.
Neglect for children is when they don't get what the brain is expecting to get, what the child is expecting to get, what we are biologically prepared and waiting for, which is input from those around us.
It's this back and forth serve and return interaction that literally shapes the architecture of the brain.
Serve and return begins when a child looks at something or observes something, makes an utterance, and that represents the serve. And the return is when the parent notices the child doing these things and responds to the child.
Under conditions where serve and return is broken, you literally are pulling away what is the essential ingredient of the development of human brain architecture.
It was a really compelling series.
You've already seen this one, I know.
Where they started by videotaping the mother and the baby engaging in cooing and smiling. And then they asked the mother to basically put on a blank face and not respond. When a baby is not attended to, that is a sign of danger to the baby biologically. So the stress systems become activated.
In a brain that is constantly bathed in stress hormones, not that's up and down, that comes with normal development. Certain key synapses, the connections between nerves, fail to form, and critical regions of the brain. So neglect both fails to provide the stimulation that's needed to develop the basic architecture, and when it's at a certain level, is one of the most potent activators of the stress biology of a young child. So you get the double whammy.
Science points to 4 categories of the spectrum of neglect. The first category would be what's called occasional inattention, where children experience responsiveness most of the time, but occasionally adults don't respond. There's no harm in that, and in fact, there's probably some benefit.
A child can learn to self-soothe and explore the environment, and all of those opportunities build brain architecture.
The second category, scientists would call chronic understimulation, is where on a regular basis, children have less interaction with the adults around them than is needed for healthy development.
Those children typically, when provided with enriched learning opportunities and more typical levels of serve and return, will show catch-up.
The third category is what science would call severe neglect in a family where not only are there prolonged periods of inattention and lack of responsiveness, but often also associated with not being fed enough, not being bathed enough, not having basic needs met.
Neglect is a huge problem in the US. Children are much more likely to be neglected than they are to experience any other kind of maltreatment.
We see the child really being at risk for much more substantial kinds of deficits down the road that don't necessarily get easily fixed or ameliorated. This is where we really need to think about more complicated and often more intensive strategies to help undo those effects.
The fourth category, called severe neglect, generally found in institutional settings, is a result of children living in kind of warehouse type situation in orphanages.
And it doesn't have to even be as extreme as orphanages. It can be experiences that are regretfully occurring in many, many parts of our country.
Often institutional care in this country is under the euphemistic name of transitional care or temporary care or assessment facilities.
If you think about what institutional or residential care would look like for an infant, where there's somebody new coming onto the shift every 8 hours, it really alters the development of the child's brain architecture and other aspects of the child's development.
We have the potential to change children's developmental trajectories.
Interventions can apply to parents, to foster parents or adoptive parents, child care settings, Head Start settings, and other kinds of settings. And really, what they're about is attuning people to the serve and return process.
Neglecting young children is neglecting the foundations of a healthy next generation. The community pays a huge price later in terms of the problems of the next generation, whether it be educational achievement, economic productivity, good citizenship, the ability to parent the next generation. All of the things that have to do with a healthy, prosperous society.
So that's just a look into some of the things that can come from it. I don't really want to take the survey. So some of the helpful pieces, they have some publications on this, especially with like foster care. It could be one of the big epidemics we have going on right now, and Kentucky was just awarded about $100 million to do research on this, is the opioid epidemic. So a lot of times we might think like, how could you ever have the still face and look at your baby? And it might be that you're addicted and then overdosed. And if you're overdosed and just laying there and the baby's trying to get your attention, but you're passed out or even drunk, it doesn't have to be drugs, it could be alcohol. That serve and return is not taking place. So the baby's brain development is struggling. So some of the foster care systems that they were talking about, they said we do have them in the United States. I'd say they're possibly even larger there's a lot of research that shows in Russia, in India, they have large warehouses of like adopted kids, like large, have you guys ever watched the movie Lion? That's another one that's pretty big to show, the foster care and adoption and what it does. And I'll try to show you the trailer before we finish up here. But here's all the different research studies that kind of go along with the way that toxic stress changes our brain and affects our brain. I know if you had me last year, I talked a lot about this. But a lot of times this comes up in a foster care situation. So today I had new clients come in on assessment because the client had gotten into a fist fight at school. She was in 7th grade. I think one of the girls, I forget what it was, but made fun of her and she just picked her up and slammed her. And it's always, building rapport with the clients is always an interesting situation because because she was court ordered with grandma, didn't want to talk. So really just kind of talking about, at first, creating goals that she actually wanted to work on. And she actually said, I want to go to college. I was like, oh, she's in the 8th grade and she's talking about college. I didn't know you started talking about college that young, but I bet nowadays they probably do. When I was younger, we didn't. And so we kind of went through, like as a 7th grader, you were able to get in trouble like that and like learn from your mistakes, and you could even be in a fist fight. I think she was charged with either assault or battery. But you have to go through a rehabilitation process that you're not going to do that if you go onto campus here or any college and you just like body slam somebody because you get pissed at them. They might punish you a little bit, like it depends. But it's as an adult, we get adult charges. We don't have the kids charges. But it turns out that mom wasn't there. She has 2 younger brothers and sisters. They were recently taken by Child Protective Services because I guess mom passed out and the kid ran out the front door, and either the cops or a neighbor found the kid. So it started like forming a story for me. It started making sense. I'm like, okay, that's, mom has, it sounds like when she drinks all the way and passes out. So that's how the kids are able to get out at night. And dad has a history of mental illness and substance abuse. And the daughter said, I do not like him. And grandma was able to give me a bit more. This is all within an hour. So getting like the full picture painted with somebody who doesn't want to be there. So they were technically court ordered. I think after the session, our secretary said, mom called and asked how long it would be to get done. And that's always their first question when you have a court ordered person. I was like, it could be a month and a half, it could be 2.5 months, but ideally just going through family history, some interventions and whatnot. And getting them, she created her own goals. So getting into college, getting off the probation with anger management, and it gives you space to list 3 treatment plan goals and objectives. So going through all of those, at some point with clients, you never want to force them to talk about anything, obviously. So it's all voluntary, even if it is court. If they didn't have to come to us, you could spend longer in the juvenile detention center, but you might not want to. That's kind of where we start out with our genogram, our eco map. What do they do spending the majority of the day? I guess mom is looking for better housing because she doesn't want dad to come around because there are domestic violence situations there. So that's another trauma. If you were to go into the ACEs and look through all these, they're traumas. Is that the dude that's Fauci from He's Always on the News? Does that look like him? You know who I'm talking about? The dude who's always talking like during the pandemic and shutting down. Well, that's Mike DeWine, but Dr. Fauci's like the head of the medical that like. Doesn't it look like him?
I've only seen him like once.
Right. Yeah, it totally looks like him. Is this going to take me to YouTube if I touch on it? I'm trying to not go. Yeah, okay. So I want to see how long this is, but kind of now we're into that development part that's essential. So like the first 1.5 to 2.5 years is like essential building blocks for your brain. And I don't think it wants to play, but this is a good and helpful website for, we'll go back actually.
So is it true that it's not good for little kids to like watch TV? Like even if it's something that can be like education?
They do go back and forth on that. So like I've seen, they listed a warning, don't let kids before the age of 2 have electronic devices. Then there's a saying like, well, you could do educational games. So I've seen them waver on that. I guess that the research isn't totally set just yet. Oh, they have podcasts too. That's interesting. I have definitely heard that before. Have you seen some stuff on it too?
I just, I know some people who are like, no, I don't think, I used to work at like, at the daycare, like, at the end of the day, we would, when we were cleaning up, we would put on like a movie for the kids, some of the parents were like, no, I don't want them, like, watching a movie. Like, we would have them there so like we could clean up the rooms and stuff. And then like, I know this one couple where like, they didn't let their child on any type of like TV or any, like, cause like, kind of like, what's the right there? They super strict about it.
Yeah, so it still says, you know, I have definitely seen both sides of that argument. If I had a better computer, I could do better searches, but right now it feels like typing is kind of not perfect for this. Let's see how these go. Multimedia, presentations. And then, yeah, the toxic stress, which is a big one. I don't know if this is a little bit longer.
Thank you so very much. It's really good to be here with you and to talk behavioral factors that play a.
So yeah, there's a lot of good stuff on how when you are stressed and that cortisol gets into your brain and washes it, it really slows down the that's weird. I almost have to go back to the home screen. I wanted to see if I could show you guys. Nope. Lion, Lion the movie. Like this is one of the orphanages that this kid was actually lucky to get out of when he was very young. There's a lot of them.
Oh, I've heard of this. I've never seen it before.
Have you seen it before? It's definitely worth a watch. Let me see if I can. Yeah, this is probably it. I don't know if it's free on Amazon Prime or not, but there it is. But he's kind of retracing his history back to where he was somewhat neglected and like put into one of the large orphanages inside of India, and he grows up in Australia. And his brother actually seems to show that he has much more challenging. Is there a different way you get these to play? Maybe I'll just go back. Is it easier to watch it on like Rotten Tomatoes or on IMDb? This is what happened last time. So we'll go to one that's not actually YouTube. The Guardian. How about that? There we go. The Guardian might have it for us. And this is a true life story too, which is even more interesting. And they have different characters played by them. And they do show his brother that was adopted too, and kind of the effects that things had on his brother. Maybe people will have it for us. Definitely worth a watch. I don't know if it's on Amazon Prime. Do you guys have Amazon Prime? Or, sometimes they are, but sometimes you still have. Oh yeah, he did eventually reconnect with his biological mother, which is like, whoa. It's definitely a story worth the watch because Again, dipping into the effect of, trauma, and then again, foster care, childhood, and like 99% of the time, the kids do want to go back and reconnect with their parents. It's just like natural for them. You guys might even know people that when you grew up, they weren't able to see their parents, but then whenever they come of age, you eventually want to go back and reconnect with your family, because that's a big deal.
So was he like taken away from his mom, or did like she take him to
So it is like movie worthy, because he actually went to collect like things on the train with his little brother or his older brother, and then he fell asleep on the train. And the train drove him like hours and hours away.
When you need your bank, Capital One's top-rated app is right here, so you can check your balance, deposit checks, pay bills, or transfer money. When you don't need your bank, put it here. That's banking reimagined. What's in your wallet?
So hopefully this works.
What's up?
Oops.
First up, where you from?
Calcutta.
Which part?
I'm adopted, I'm not really any. I'm starting to remember.
Sorry. How beautiful boy.
What a very proud of yourself.
I see what now.
A life I'd forgotten.
You okay?
I had another family, a mother, a brother. I can still see their faces.
What happened? Maganda
Falls asleep on that tree, drives 1,000 miles.
I have to find my way back home. How long were you on the train? A couple of days. Couple of days.
It would take a lifetime to search all the stations in India.
You have any idea what it's like? How every day my real brother screams my name.
I always thought that I could keep this family together. I need you, Saru. What if you do find home and they're not even there? And you just keep searching?
I don't have a choice.
What was she like?
Beautiful. Every night I imagine that I'm walking those streets home, and I know every single step of the way. I whisper in her ear, I'm here.
So you will cry if you watch it. It's a pretty good movie, actually. Yeah, I don't know if it's free on any of the different, maybe Netflix. Is that another one that you could? So it kind of gets into, obviously he had a really rough trauma, and he goes in to look at, I think he was with his brother in the train station looking for like, I forget what they look for, and then he falls asleep here, and the train takes him all the way to Calcutta, where Mother Teresa's from. It's like 1,000 miles away, and he finds his way back, which is like, how in the heck? Like he had to use his 5-year-old memory, and like they searched Google Earth and Google Maps, and like how, well, yeah, here's the review of it. So how, how you can get into this stuff now and see like your house and where you grew up, and like, so shows the power of the brain. Hello. So that is Lion the movie. That's what I'm gonna probably get into, and yeah, he definitely definitely a tearjerker if you ever watch. Have you seen Lion the movie? It's good. We just watched the trailer, but you'll have to go to our YouTube live stream and see it. Or just watch it when you get home. We were kind of getting into science, the science of neglect, and then that's right. Okay. Oh, it did it again. It wants me to sign into YouTube really badly. And then I was just honestly going to do a quick check-in for like the last 5 minutes of how you guys are with your projects, the paper, and then like dates you wanted to present. And then if you want to, you can write that for your final paper too. So it's just like continuous research. It's like, so you want anxiety as a topic.
Yeah.
You think foster care and adoption?
Yes.
Okay. And then is there any topic you're interested in?
I couldn't find the topic.
Okay. We were just looking at those too. So if you go into the end of the syllabus, you can do any topic you want, and then there's about 12 or 15 topics at the end of the syllabus we give as an example of research you can do. So it's like pages 9 to 12 in the syllabus. Is there a topic in social work you're extremely interested in? Excuse me.
No.
Okay, that's fine. That's why we give you some example topics. So you open up the syllabus and you go to the very end, and there's like 12 or 15 articles you can choose from. And then try to find a few other articles. So like, you want to do older adult population, child, adoption, foster care, or your own private practice, or you don't have to know, but sometimes people are like, I know I want to do this. I want to work with refugees when I finish my independent license. So here's a few of the topics starting right here. Gender bias in families and its clinical implications for women, or adjustment to occupational stress, the relationship of perceived control to effectiveness of coping strategies. That could be like anxiety in relation to starting your first social work job or your first social work internship. Character development in a hostile environment. So that could be domestic violence. That could be your topic. These are good articles for them. Ethnic sensitive social work practice. So maybe multicultural social work is your topic. Aggressive behavior in children and early adolescence, and ecological developmental perspective of youth violence. So your topic there could be like youth violence or aggression in childhood. Psychological theory and women's development. Coming out in mid-adulthood, building a new identity, Journal of Gay and Lesbian Studies. Development theories of aging, so gerontological theories of older adult development and developmental theories through the life cycle.
What does that mean?
So you could just go over like the theories that people are going through at the end of life. So if we did like Erickson, a lot of times the very last stage, which we'll get into later on, is trying to see what your mark on the world was. You know what I mean? Like, is it that you have family and you've got like a son and a daughter and grandchildren galore, and they do what they do, and getting into the theories. Without it in front of me, I don't totally remember, but just looking at like meaning making of older adulthood, you know, stuff that maybe even looking at your parents or grandparents, like what is their mark on the world, so to speak, at this point. So, okay, that's fine. And then, yeah, you'll just submit it in that last discussion board at the end of the thing, like if you want to do it this month or next month, and then present it to us like you guys teach us.
So like what kind of topic can we do?
You could do addiction, alcoholism, adoption, foster care, anxiety, poverty, trauma. You know, like trauma is something that I get into a lot, and like that's where we did the science of neglect, and this actually gives you you want like 85 articles to work from, this website has freaking amazing stuff, you know. It's Harvard, but yeah, it has all these different.
Can I do like probably?
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
Poverty.
Yeah, poverty is good too. That is a trauma in and of itself. Like if you don't have the access, especially to proper food for food development and like good vitamins and omega-3s and fatty acids.
So what exactly is like the PowerPoint and the SE stuff? I'm just confused on exactly what it is.
Right. Well, we'll get back into the syllabus. So when you do it, here's the exact instructions right here. This is the final paper. But then the oral research report, so you're to sign up and make an oral report on related behavior science research and study reported in scholarly journals. This may be selected from the selected bibliography, attached or located by the student in a current journal. So just make sure, I'd say even stuff really when in grad school, they need to do research in the last 5 or 10 years. So stuff that you see in articles that are like 2010 and 2015 and 2019. So you should base your report on 2 scholarly articles that are related to the chosen topic. You'll have a maximum of 10 to 15 minutes for your presentation. It'll be made in class. You can give a handout summarizing the articles, or you just do a PowerPoint nowadays. We're not doing handouts because of COVID. If you just do a PowerPoint, that's fine. And listing the key information of like how social works would treat, you know, what do social workers do in cases of poverty? How do we empower clients in cases of poverty? How do we serve a traumatized client or someone who's been affected by foster care and adoption, you know, helping out as the social worker there. Students are encouraged to work from an outline and not read your report. So your outline can be your PowerPoint, just not like read it right in front of you, like whatever. Then your research studies summarized and critiqued, and presentations will be considered when grading. So that, I'm also saying, you could do the same 2 topics for this and your big final paper. Does that answer any of your question? Okay.
So what's the big
Big final paper is similar. You can write it about yourself and your family. That's the way it's written up here. You don't have to have it about yourself and your family if you don't want to. Definitely keep everything confidential. Like don't give names if you do. It says each student will write a case report about his or her family of origin. Students are to study and cite relevant literature related to their family's culture, ethnicities, writing a paper, reviewing your experiences, family experiences. Use your eco map and culturegram as an assessment. So like, you know, like your family history and like the ecogram is your energy throughout the day. You address significant issues and life events that you and your family experienced. The effect of these events that they had on you and other family members. You could address sexuality, drugs, peer pressure, body image, family dynamics. You can do one of these for your topics for the presentation too. How did issues in diversity, I'm missing something. How did issues of diversity paper, that does not make sense, does it? Show how the theories can be explain your behavior. So there's a few theories that you can get into. It's either psychodynamic like Freud, psychosocial, the social learning theory, or cognitive and biological theory. Here's an example. You may want to discuss how social learning theory may explain your involvement with certain friends. The paper should be 6 to 8 pages and references used in regard to your discussion of theories. Do it in the APA, and then have your references.
So 6 to 8 means 6, okay.
Well, that's why we say 6 to 8. So yeah.
So the other paper basically like a lot of
You could have the same, definitely have the same articles, but you're going to go a little bit more in depth in the paper. Right, because it's like 6 pages instead of a PowerPoint, even like 10 or 20 PowerPoint slides doesn't cover as much as what. It is in essence, yeah, or at least you're beginning research on it, like your findings, the initial findings, and what social workers need to know to create interventions for clients there.
So we can just take a lot of stuff from the PowerPoint and put it on.
You can't. That's my new addition to this. I'm making it flow for you guys, so you're not doing all kinds of different projects. The idea in graduate school, and this is what helped me get through grad school, is you pick a topic that you become the expert on, like something that you love and it's going to keep you in graduate school so you finish. I think that's more important than knowing a million different things. You know, having a specialty area is always good to have. So.
Yeah, my specialty is the Medicare and Medicaid.
Okay.
No more options I can do?
If you want to, if you can like address how it's helpful to social workers knowing about Medicare and Medicaid and things, because that was the policy one you did for like Dr. Ebony Speaks paper, right? So something you can roll off that. Remember to cite yourself and not plagiarize yourself. So maybe the topic still would be poverty, but you could say how Medicare and Medicaid are the U.S. government policies that are helpful in addressing the poverty that we have in America and things. The paper, you can go all over the place. You can dip into the pandemic and how that's infuriated poverty to the point where, you know, we printed $3 trillion this year. So it can get legit. And then, yeah, it's the cool part about always having your specialty area is like adding the new information that just happened. Like we had 3 trillion. Now we have 7 trillion in circulation. And that makes the dollar worth a whole lot less. So we're going to see inflation because of it. So it's going to cost more money to buy bread and gas and milk. It's crazy. And it's exciting when we get a $1,200 check, but then inflation ends up killing us because it's so expensive to do anything. So and you probably already see it happening. Have you seen how expensive stuff got in the pandemic?
It sure is.
For-
Hand sanitizer is like $4, $6. I'm like, that.
For what?
Hand sanitizer.
Oh yeah, that's true. It is. I actually I found in the past old websites where you can buy like a gallon of 70% alcohol or something. That's probably, and then you just make your own. You add like essential oils into it and lavender and spearmint. You just get a big gallon of 70% alcohol and you just like spray it on your hand. As long as it's 70% alcohol or 90% alcohol. And I think you can get a gallon for like a lot cheaper than, but you're right, the prices went way up. And so yeah, hopefully that answered some of your questions. I know we're getting towards the end and hopefully I'll get my computer to work again, but it may never work again. I just have to start over on this one. My computer crashed today for some reason. It happens. It's dead as a doornail. I'm kind of depressed. It has like a terabyte of information on it, like research. And I mean, I have it backed up, but I just have to go find out all the places I backed it up. So, any other questions from you all? I can't believe we just covered the whole time at this point.